Call this meeting of the Pittsburg City Commission to order. Will you please rise with me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Open with public input. If someone having public input, Pete.
I'm going to input a little prayer here for you.
May input
That's
all you would
right,
like.
Okay. Let us pray. Lord our God, we turn to you and ask your blessing as we begin our meeting for the good of the Pittsburgh community. Assist your servants with your wisdom in today's discussions. Help us stay mindful that it is your work that we do, your people that we serve. We pray also for beneficial weather, for the needs of the most vulnerable, as we give thanks for your many blessings. Amen.
Pete? Is there anyone else here for public opinion time that would like to share on any issue? Not, we'll close public opinion time and move on to the consent agenda. I've been informed that item B will be removed from the consent agenda. Are there any other items needing removal for questions?
Let's remove D, please.
D? Are there any others? If not, I will take a motion for approval minus item D.
So move.
Seconded.
Been moved and seconded. Roll call vote.
Dinwiddie?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
McNay?
Aye.
Munsell?
Aye.
O'Brien?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item D reads, approval of ordinance number G-1280, creating section 10-77 of the Pittsburgh City Code regarding the disposal of dog feces, and if approved, authorize the mayor to sign the ordinance on behalf of the city.
My only question, just for the people at home, was what are going to be the enforcements of this and penalties for violating it?
And
Well,
how many
that's
new
expected.
cops we're gonna have to enforce it?
That is a great
It's a
question.
great idea, by the way. I'm all for it.
You want me to
I can
do it?
address the penalty phase.
Yeah.
The city has a general penalty ordinance in its book of ordinances, and it would be an unclassified misdemeanor under there. And that was how it would be prosecuted, should it be necessary to be prosecuted.
I would think as far as enforcement goes, we're about to open a dog park. I would hope that we will focus on the dog park at the beginning just to set the tone for what is expected behavior. I don't think some people understand necessarily. As far as the overall city, there are definitely periods where we receive complaints about my neighbor or this person, so I think it would have to be mostly complaint driven. Obviously, if I would hope any of our law enforcement officers are driving down the street and see somebody violating any of our ordinances, that they would do what was necessary. But I'm assuming most of this is going to be complaint driven, and hopefully once we get the message out that this is the expectation, there won't have to be a lot of enforcement. But great question. We will take it as it comes.
Good luck, I'm so to speak.
All right.
What about cats?
This ordinance just pertains to dogs.
What about cats?
I was told never to talk about cats in this room.
I don't think people regularly walk their cats.
No, they just turn them loose. Never mind.
Stunned silence.
That's
If
all
there
I
are
got.
Yeah.
no other questions about
that's
the removal of dog feces, is there a motion on?
I will motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Special presentation. Department report. Deputy City Manager. Deputy City Manager Jay Byers will provide an update on activities within his department.
Good afternoon. I appreciate the opportunity here to talk a little bit about some of the operations we're going to be doing. We're going to try to do this with other department heads as well, to kind of explain a little bit about what the different departments do, give a, you know, what is their daily or weekly time look like. So if we can give you an opportunity to ask questions about the operations, what goes on. I'm here to talk about IT and Memorial Auditorium, right? So I'm going to kind of go through this relatively quickly, give you some idea about what their operations are like, give you some numbers about the workload. If you have any questions, both the IT manager and the Memorial Operations Manager here. This kind of presentation, by the way, is made a lot easier by the fact that we have good managers who keep track of these things, do data-driven decision-making. So you'll see some of that in this presentation. I'm going to start with information technology. I'm going to do this slide here that you never do. It's a slide that you have way too much stuff on, just to give you a sense of what the kind of things that IT does. I'm not going to dwell on it. But understand that we're a large organization, but we're much larger in our IT footprint. We have a dramatically wide range of operations, right? And it presents a real challenge to manage. Understand that there are 3 full-time IT staff. We also have an IT person that's been dedicated to the police department. So that all of the stuff that I'm going to talk to you about is being done with 3 people, right? So now technology increasingly defines our work, as it is everybody's work, right? But it does allow us to do more with less. We're able to keep our staffing down because we are pretty liberal with giving our technology out and letting our employees take advantage of the productivity that comes with that. Right? But there's also some work that comes with that too, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit. I'm going to break. You can see what I did there, right? Breaking it down. But anyway, but I'm going to break it down to kind of the general things that IT is responsible for. Probably really the core function here and the core technology that they really deal with is that data stack that we have, the main pieces. There's servers, there's 91 servers, right? Now there's 10 physical servers, 10 actual machines, and there's 80 plus of actual virtual machines. So we virtualize most of our servers. But understand that they have to every one of those virtual servers is maintained like a regular server. It looks like a regular server when we're managing it. And they all have to be maintained and all the work that comes with it. We have 60 plus switches. These are the things that route data all over the place. All of those have to be maintained. All of them have varying levels of sophistication. There's firewalls all over the place to keep bad things out, all right? And that's increasingly becoming important. We have 20 buildings. Those are all wired and ready for work. We have over 30 wireless access points, so you can get wireless internet. These are at our city facilities, right? We also get our internet through CANRIN, which is the same internet that the Regents universities use in the Kansas University system. So we've switched over and we use the same internet service that those do. And I think it's safe to say we're pretty happy with it so far. Right? Some of the core business systems we use, and this is true of almost any organization. We have email, we have wired telephones, we have sales points, which we have to go out if you're going to buy things, and we have printers, right? 600 email addresses. That's not actually uncommon for a 300-person organization. We have extra email addresses for a variety of reasons. We have almost 300 telephones, over 20 sales points. Those come with something called PCI compliance. It's a federal regulation where you have to be cautious of the security that's being used as you're taking people's payment information, so that all of that has to be taken. We have over 50 printers, and I don't want to talk about that because the number of printers makes me mad. We shouldn't have this many printers, but we still do. It's hard to get rid of printers. That's something that's true of any organization. I've tried in every organization I've been in. It's hard to get rid of printers. But we're trying to go, we're trying to be paperless, and we're not. Of course, the primary systems, the most crucial systems that the IT department is responsible for are public safety systems. The primary public safety system is our Tyler system we recently purchased and upgraded from our older system. That's our dispatch records court system. It also comes with mobile components so that the police officers in the cars can have access to the information. That is a very significant portion of the time of IT is spent in those public safety systems. Right? We just purchased and installed a brand new 911 system. Right? Upgraded it to what's called the next gen 911 system. Currently doing training on that, so that's actually being installed right now. The firehouse system is what fire department uses. The IT department also is involved in maintenance of the sirens and radios. So all of these systems are crucial for public safety, right? And we keep and they are responsible for maintaining them. We also have a lot of systems that our utility uses. Our treatment plants, our water and wastewater treatment plants have system that actually helps automate the process, allows us to manage those plants with a minimum amount of staff. If we didn't have these systems, we'd have many more staff that would have to be hired to run these plants. We obviously have HVAC systems, we have access control systems getting in and out of this building, for example. We also have cameras. We have 70 cameras that we manage, right? Didn't know we had that many. We're about ready to double that size too. Right? We're gonna put cameras all over the place. And managing those is work in and of itself. There's also essential business software that the IT department is responsible for installing, updating, and maintaining, right? These are things that you can't, try to run your city for more than a day without your financial management system. You just can't do it. Encode is our financial management system, and it is absolutely essential for what we do. Takes all the money in for all the utility payments, things like that on a daily basis. Laserfish is our document management system. We're a public agency. We have to keep records of our documents, and Laserfish allows us to scan them and put them in electronic format. Vermont Systems is the recreation management what Parks and Recreation uses to manage their programs, take payments, things like that. Lindsay does the housing program, right? That's a federal requirement we have to maintain. CityWorks is our work order management system. All of these are just applications that are daily work management systems that have to be maintained. They're upgraded on a regular basis. Upgrades are a process that you have to go through. It's always a little bit fraught with potential issues as you upgrade a primary business application. But this is the IT department's responsible for that on a regular basis. And of course, if anything goes wrong with any of these systems, that goes into the tech support queue, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Technical support. We do, there's over 400 PC laptops and tablets. We do our work on computers here, right? A lot of people have multiple. I have a tablet as well as a computer. Right? So there's two there. We have over 120 cell phones. We have a lot of people out in the field that are doing work on a regular basis that use their phones constantly. Right? So those are there. There are about 2,500 support incidents a year, right? And those are all part of we try to make them part of our ticketing system, where they put in a ticket, and we kind of keep track, so we can know what kind of problems we're having, what kind of work that is generated through the IT department, what kind of problems people are having. And we analyze that on a regular basis, see what kind of issues are arising. We have audio visual. We have 20-plus conference rooms. They all have AV stuff in them. And, of course, we're constantly having to do training, sometimes retraining, then training again to remind people about what they're supposed to be doing and how they're supposed to be using the technology. We also have some major initiatives that we're working on right now. Systems optimization from both a technical and operational point of view. We want to take more time looking at how to make sure our technical systems are working more efficiently. We analyze, the traffic flows or the data flows in the various areas of the network. We look at, what's coming from what areas, what applications are working well, what's not. We try to analyze these systems. But we also want to make sure that people are using the systems to take advantage of the technology. And that's a much more time-consuming aspect. It's an initiative we're trying to find more time for. We're taking a part-time position that we haven't filled and converting it to a full-time position so that person can take over more technical support, and that hopefully will give us some more time to do the operational optimization that we really need to be doing. That's where you're going to see the most benefit to the organization, by making sure people are using the capabilities of the technology that we've given them. Right? We don't always have time to go back and make sure they're using it properly or to its fullest extent. So we're going to try to spend more time doing that. We're also doing some regionalization. Those technical technical systems I've talked to you about for public safety, we're sharing those right now with the county. We're sharing them with PSU's public safety system as well. That system is housed in our servers, and we maintain that. So it's our staff that maintains that system for the county and for PSU right now. Right? So, and we're interested in extending that to other jurisdictions as well. So we think there's a lot of benefits to be gained from having a single system that we share our public safety information with.
Jane, do these other two entities share any of the expenses?
Yeah, we do charge them a fee for doing that. It covers, we have estimated what our expenses are, and we try to cover our costs, but we're not charging them anything else. Right. By the way, security is becoming, as you might guess, an increasingly great concern for us. We're increasingly spending more time on looking at security, looking at both in how and the technology that we've had, which we've had, by the way, we're hit on a regular basis with hacks. I mean, like any public sector agency is. We're hit on a regular basis. There's thousands that happen daily, all right? So technically, you know, the technical hacks, we're able to deal with those pretty well. The personnel issues, that's another thing altogether. The biggest security risks tend to be how your personnel handles the data, and so that's what we're going to be focusing on too. So security is a big step. We're obviously doing a fiber build out. Primarily it's conduit. We haven't actually put fiber everywhere. We've put a fiber connection between PSU and the city, and we're going to extend that into Block 22. But in terms of, we have been putting conduit around when the other cable companies have been laying their conduit, we co-locate with them. So we've got about 20 miles worth of conduit right now around the city. We also have a lot of the work we currently are doing is becoming mapped information. Mapping information is like GIS is geographic information systems. A GIS really is a database that has geolocated information, all right? So we know right now, we have all of the water and sewer lines geolocated. We know where they are. We can put them on a map, and we can locate them easily. So we know exactly when you're out in the field, you know where you are and what you're looking at. And behind that geolocation is a lot of information. How big is the line? How deep is it? Those kind of things. So it's very helpful to have that information, and you can get all that information from the field. So you can be out in the field and get that information. So we're increasingly pushing that information into a map and increasingly pushing that map to the field so that it can be more efficiently used by the field staff as well. So GIS mapping is a significant initiative for us in IT. Anyway, that's quick.
Yeah, I have a question, Jay, on security. What happens if a customer comes in front counter City Hall and makes a water payment or any kind of payment, uses their credit card number, social security number? How do you safeguard that information maybe from being recorded on an employee's cell phone device? And what do you do if you find that out?
Well, obviously, you're talking probably about an example of where personnel would be doing something that they shouldn't be doing.
Right.
And, well, that's obviously one of our biggest security issues is how to keep people doing the things that they should keep.
Would your cameras pick that information up?
It could. We're not recording the audio, but we could. There are cameras in the public areas in City Hall. So
What about
that is a place.
on a personal employee's cell phone device? What do you do if that happens?
That's more of a gray area, right? People have an expectation of privacy for their personal things. Now, they shouldn't be doing that at work, obviously. So we would have to deal with that, depending on what the situation is. If we find that they've been doing that, that's definitely not something we would condone.
Have you ever had an example of that? Find anything that might have occurred?
Not that I'm aware of.
Really?
So Jay, in terms of the cameras, are there specific ones that are being monitored real time, or are they just used for, to go back and review if there's an incident?
They're almost exclusively used for looking at incidents. We do record it. Right now, we're keeping it for about a month. That's our retention policy, and then we just delete it. There are some instances where we're considering live events where, like the art walks and things like that, where we may have somebody kind of viewing this. We would view it from the camera that's on the tower over here on Locust. There's no, just to kind of keep track of crowd movements and things like that, but and to help maybe direct some police that are on the ground if something happens. But it's not something that we don't have the time or the staff to be able to monitor these things. So it's more a post fact surveillance.
Something comes up.
Yeah. Any other questions about IT? There's a lot of stuff, guys. This is I've been in a lot of IT organizations, and this what we do here is very broad, and the fact that there's 3 people and hopefully soon to be 4 hopefully that are doing this is pretty impressive. The amount of tickets that they deal with on a daily basis and the amount of major system work that they're doing is pretty impressive. Other IT questions? I'm going to move to Memorial Auditorium then. Well, first of all, let's talk about the building. It was built in 1925. I didn't know if you guys knew it was that old, but that's old. It doesn't look that old when you go inside it. That's because it was renovated in 1984, but still, renovation in 1984 is not exactly new either. It's got a 5,000 square foot stage, one of the biggest in the state. The stage itself is very large, right? Holds 1,565 seats in the main house, right? Fortunately, the distribution of those seats is a little bit uncomfortable. I'll talk about that in a little bit. We have a over 10,000 square foot event area downstairs with those. That event area is pretty flexible. It can create 8 breakout spaces in that event area downstairs. And obviously, they have major HVAC and lift systems that are associated with this. We have some long-term partners that really have been using that device, that venue for a long time. The Pittsburgh Community Theater puts on about 4 performances a year, right? Midwest Regional Ballet puts on about 3 performances. Both of those take about 2 weeks of the theater's time to prepare and rehearse and tear down. So those performances take up quite a bit of time in the main theater area. Pittsburgh schools, of course, use it for so many different reasons, and so many different people and the kids are in there all the time. So, PSU does its Jazz Fest there. They have about 1,500 musicians come in. That's a big step for them. And and YMCA does its dance recital there. So these are kind of partners that we've had for a long time. They've been using the facility. We have a lot of non-theater events. We have conferences, capers, Kansas Water Office. A lot of different organizations use the conference center downstairs, conference space downstairs. We also actually had the NAIA at the last minute. The indoor track people had to use a big space, and we made it available. We happened to be available that night that they needed it at the last minute, and we had a lot of students there for that event as well. We do have some weddings there. We have fundraising events, training, banquets, a whole bunch of flexible uses for the event space downstairs. I just thought you'd like to look at some of these numbers. This is what goes on at Memorial Auditorium. We have 75 events on the stage, 35,000 attendees for those. 12 conventions that have 6,700. There's 458 events at Memorial and over 50,000 attendees, right? It's a big deal. And that's with 6 full-time employees, right, and 8 part-time employees, right, that work the events. Right? So believe me, that's a lot for any kind of organization to pull off. There are some opportunities. We're looking at adding more music to the programming when we can. We're trying to fit in some of the time frames. We've been doing comedy. I don't know if any of you have heard that we're doing some comedy in the basement on Wednesday nights. We're able to get national level performers between major venues on Wednesday nights. They can go from Kansas City to Tulsa. They stop here on Wednesday. We're able to get, and they're very high quality. I've been going to the comedy ones. They're quite good, by the way. They're on Wednesday nights. Start at 8:30, sorry. We've been doing some artist receptions. The Taylor Center on Missouri Southern's campus has been closed, and they don't have an opening time for it. Apparently there's some structural issues with that. So we think that we're going to probably get filled in some spaces with some dance competitions and perhaps some other events that were at the Taylor Center before. We've also been looking at doing some collaborative marketing with some other venues as well, kind of trading potential opportunities for entertainment. The goal here is looking to bring different kinds of entertainment to Pittsburgh, given a variety of options. There are some challenges. As I said before, we have a large balcony and a relatively small main area, about a little over 400 seats in the lower area and 1,100 in the upper area. So there's some challenges with that. Most people prefer to be on the main floor, so it's kind of switched, which you would normally like. Loading dock is, oh, by the way, the lighting in the balcony needs some work too. It's pretty dim in there. So, and the elevator doesn't go all the way to the balcony, right? So that creates issues. That creates issues as well. It's rather steep to climb up there. So, but again, an old building that has some challenges. Loading dock needs to be realigned a little bit. It's hard to pull in a big a big truck into the loading dock area. We also are in a relatively underdeveloped market. We haven't really marketed ourselves to be that between major venues place, and I think we're starting to do some of that. We do have, of course, some price sensitivity in our region. Mainline acts, want upwards of $100 per ticket, and that's difficult for us to achieve. We're also getting a lot more competition. We got casinos and other venues that have come up, so there's definitely we also have a lack of skilled stagehands around here too for larger events. So these are just challenges that we're looking at ways of overcoming. But again, I think you can see that it's a pretty vibrant place. It brings a lot of activity to the downtown area, and has been going on for a long time. Of course, it's supported by the public. Right? We get by a quarter-cent sales tax. So it is a venue that has been long active and long standing in the community. Questions about that? That was it. That's the presentation. We're going to try to do that with other operations as well, so you can have a chance to ask questions and see what they do.
Very informative.
Appreciate it, yeah. Right, moving on to the main agenda. Consider the following. Kansas Department of Wildlife, Parks and Tourism Land and Water Conservation Fund grant. City staff would like to apply for the Kansas Department of Wildlife, Parks and Tourism Land and Water Conservation Fund grant to help build 2 new restrooms, concession, and storage facilities at the Don Cutteridge Sports Complex. In order to complete the application, a resolution of assurance must be adopted and included with the application.
Mayor, Commissioners, thank you. This is a formality of the grant process. We are applying for the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant through the Kansas Department of Wildlife, Parks and Tourism to build 2 new concession stand, restroom, and storage facilities at Don Cutteridge Sports Complex. And this resolution is just part of that process. The resolution just says that we are able to accept federal money and that we will maintain the property and maintain it as parkland throughout its usage. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them at this time.
Are you gonna build them in the same locations of current?
Yes, Kelly Concession Stand, which is the one by Kelly Ball Diamond, will be built in the exact same location. So that would be demolished and rebuilt right there. And that project was actually a Land and Water Conservation Fund project in 1966. So when we acquired the parkland that was the Ball Diamonds and the golf course, that was also part of the project. So that concession stand has served us well. The other one will keep the building for storage and potential space for umpires and office, and we'll actually put the proposed location would be up where the batting cages are, the 2 batting cages that sit just to the west of the facility, and then we'll relocate those batting cages.
Well, I've had a lot of concerns about them, concession stands, and they've been needed replaced, and thanks for your hard work, Kim. It looked like it's gonna happen.
So this, we would have a 50% match on the
Correct. Between in-kind of work that we would do, and then the rest would be from funding.
Is there a cost estimate that I missed in here, or is that premature? Is there a cost estimate?
We are still working on that.
Okay.
So yeah, this comes a little cart before the horse with having to do the resolution, but the grant isn't due quite yet, so we're still finalizing all of those numbers.
Are there any other questions?
No other questions. I move to approve.
I second it.
Been moved and seconded to approve. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Motion passes. Thank you, Kim. Are there any non-agenda reports or requests? Nobody's holding out in the back? Something you're sitting on? No? Okay. If not, I will look for a motion for adjournment.
So move.
Seconded.
Been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you, guys.